was wild when I heard this news. My first thought was, hey, come on, Lamar. Come on, Lamar.
Was he tripping?
You're a little out of pocket. Like, you got to know, Lamar, the Ravens aren't going to give you that. Now, I think Lamar can get a fully guaranteed deal. I think Lamar Jackson will get a fully guaranteed deal. But for everybody at home, you'll have to consider this. What did Deshaun Watson have to do from a football perspective to get that fully guaranteed deal? He had to get the Panthers interested, the Saints interested, the Falcons interested, the Texans were interested, the Colts were interested, and the Cleveland Browns were interested. There was a market that was incredibly desperate for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson did not stay in Houston to get a fully guaranteed deal. He got $156 million from the Texans, but to get it fully guaranteed, he had to go. Leave the franchise that drafted him, leave the city that he had only ever known from a professional perspective, leave the family and friends that were in Houston. He had to go to the most impoverished franchise to be the wealthiest athlete as it pertains to guarantees ever. So, if Lamar wants to get a fully guaranteed deal, he can do it. But Lamar is going to have to go to an impoverished franchise to become the wealthiest NFL player ever, as it pertains to guarantees. Getting that deal in Baltimore, Shady, I think is unrealistic. But you tell me, man, you've been the highest paid player at your position in the NFL. Not a lot of people can say that. Is Lamar Jackson being unrealistic with the Ravens?
I'm going to say no, right? And you made a great point. The number he wants, that's the right number. That's the market. The market is the market. But it might not be the right team.
That's good.
And when you said that, I thought about it. I said, you know what, Acho's right. I think that Lamar Jackson, not even him, when I was even playing, right, we always talk about the contracts. Man, the league, we watch basketball, they get these fully loaded, guaranteed contracts.
Yep.
Why can't we be that? Why can't we be the NBA? And we always talked about it takes one quarterback, not a running back, not a wide receiver, not a D-back, not a lineman, a quarterback, a position that you need in football, a position that they look at a quarterback as the franchise difference maker.
Yep.
So now we have a guy like Deshaun Watson who gets a fully guaranteed contract. I'm like, oh, there it goes. Mm-hmm. It seems crazy until it happens. Yep. It seems crazy when wide receivers are making $30 million a year, $28 million a year, until it happens. So now you get Deshaun Watson does it, right? I think a team out there that he gets the bidding war with Lamar Jackson, he gets another guaranteed contract. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you know? That's the new market. Then you got guys like Joe Burrow coming up, Justin Herbert. Yep. Then you got my guy, Jalen Hurts.
Yes, sir.
Then it becomes guaranteed contracts. Now the big-time wide receiver running back, he might not get, $200 million guaranteed, but he might get his contract guaranteed. Yeah. And that's going to be the new thing in the NFL. So I think Lamar Jackson's right on it. He should get a fully guaranteed contract.
Very well said. Joy, where do you stand? Is Lamar being unrealistic with the Ravens?
No, because this is the market right now. Now, it might not stay the market, and it's kind of already trended away from that being the market because since Deshaun Watson signed, Russell Wilson has signed a deal, and Kyler Murray has signed a deal, and neither one of them were fully guaranteed. What will be the question is what will happen with Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts when they get paid. If they sign deals that are considerably less than $230 million guaranteed or not fully guaranteed, then the market is actually set. But as of right now, that hasn't happened. Russell Wilson was obviously moving to another team, wasn't playing at the same level to demand that. Kyler Murray certainly isn't the same type of player as Lamar Jackson, but Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts are. Mm-hmm. And if they get deals less than Deshaun Watson, then the Deshaun Watson deal is no longer the market. Right. So that's really the timing thing that's at play here, along with what you mentioned, which is the bidding war. If you can get other teams interested in you, knowing that this is what you want a fully guaranteed deal, because nobody is going to trade for someone that they know they can't sign. They're going to have to give up players to get Lamar Jackson. Right. And they're not going to do that knowing that they're going to be stuck with a contract negotiation that they aren't able to fill. So there are a lot of nuances to the situation. But currently, as of right now, this is the market.
I just keep thinking of the word unrealistic. And how can you call something that exists unrealistic?
Right, there you go.
There's a guy in Cleveland with a fully guaranteed deal. We all watched that happen. We've talked about it. I think that is such a good point, Joy, that these deals coming for guys like Burrow, Hurts, Herbert, they have the potential to change things. Because Lamar Jackson can look right now and be like, well, I'm better than Kyler Murray. And Russell Wilson's in his mid-30s. Like, I absolutely can ask for this. Once those deals come in, if they don't measure up, I think the conversation changes. That's what makes this interesting to me. I don't think it's unrealistic. I don't think there are many organizations that Lamar Jackson could play for that would be worse suited for him to try to get that deal from. Maybe
the Ravens.
The one team I could think of that might balk at this harder than Baltimore is Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. I can't see it happening for either of these teams. And it's so obvious to me, like the Ravens model themselves after Pittsburgh. I mean, it's a good model to be, in my opinion. I mean, they've been around since 1996. They've already got 3 guys in the Hall of Fame. They probably got a 4th eventually when Terrell Suggs is eligible.
You sizzle.
They are a draft and develop team. They do things the old school way. You don't see them do a ton of splashy stuff. If anything, we've seen them be willing to trade players away. Hollywood Brown very recently. So I don't see the Ravens being willing to do this, and that's what's interesting. Can Lamar Jackson drum up leverage by getting other teams interested? I think he can. Again,
but you got to be willing to leave. That's the trick. Like, teams can't express interest if they aren't actually considering the fact that you might leave.
If Lamar Jackson is hell-bent...
He ready now. His tweets and all that, he ready.
If he is hell-bent on getting a fully guaranteed deal and nothing else is going to make him happy, then he better be ready to leave, because that's the only unrealistic thing I see is it happening with the Baltimore Ravens.
Correct.
Nothing about their DNA, to me, screams losing this
I just
negotiation.
want to ask you a quick question real quick. So you talked about the other quarterbacks. So let's say Joe Burrow, right, when he's up, if he asks for, I want a fully guaranteed contract, what's your take on that?
Give it to him. I think
He should get it?
Yeah.
I have a hard time saying no.
As an owner, as a fan, or a media member? Because as an owner, I'm not giving a fully guaranteed contract of that magnitude to any player.
But it's already out there, and he's if anybody's worth the deal.
We still operate under the salary cap. So it's very complicated, and I'm not the best expert. Dave can probably lend to some of this as well. Sorry to put you on the spot with this,
I'll
but
try.
I mean, the people get paid a lot of money to manage the salary cap.
They
and,
do.
that's their job, and they still mess it up. But there is a salary cap. So there's a difference between hard money and money that you can move around. And when it's guaranteed money, it's on the books. Like, you can't move that around. You can't negotiate that once the contract. So it's not, to me, as simple and straightforward as this will be the standard for everyone moving forward, and every team is going to be willing to do this. And for that matter, every team can do it when it's their chance to pay the quarterback, because this is an unprecedented situation. Do you even have the money on the books to pay the quarterback a fully guaranteed deal like that? So from that, I know it's a little bit of a nerd answer, but that has to matter. Like, Cleveland had the money to give Deshaun Watson.
I think it depends who you ask, because you and I have had a conversation with those in private, and they'd be like, yeah, they got the money. Go find it.
They got the money.
They got the money. Go find it. Go create the money.
Well, it's not necessarily just, not to cut you off, it's not necessarily just about money. The other thing, and again, I hate to defend billionaires. I would love for everybody to get fully guaranteed contracts. But what do we always say? Football, unlike basketball, 100% surely 100% chance of injury. And I think that is what terrifies owners about fully guaranteed contracts is you can shred your knee 6 games into a contract like this, and they're stuck footing the bill for 5 years that they're not getting back?
But I do think, Shady, to the question you're asking, it comes down to, like, players have to be willing to hold their feet to the fire. And Lamar Jackson, for all intents and purposes, he wasn't this year. Because what did Lamar say? He said, I'm going to be the good cop, and I'm going to go good soldier, and I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to just play.
Yeah.
Like, Lamar Jackson could have sat out this year, at least threatened to sit out this year, and then the Ravens would have been in a predicament. Yeah. Because the Browns, they traded for Deshaun. You didn't know if they were going to go good or bad. You didn't know at the time. The Steelers, they just drafted a first-round pick. He might have came out the gate swinging. Plus, Mike Tomlin's never been below 500, so you know he's going to be good. The Bengals just were in the Super Bowl. So if Lamar would have kicked back and said, you know what, I'm going to chill, what is Harbaugh going to do? What is the ownership group going to do? But here is what I do know, and here's what I have to state. If you want to be the highest paid at your position ever, you usually got to go somewhere to get it. Jalen Ramsey had to go to the Rams to get it. Earl Thomas had to go to the Ravens to get it. Tyreek Hill had to go to the Dolphins to get it. Devontae Adams had to go to the Raiders to get it. A.J. Brown had to go to the Eagles to get it. Roquan Smith had to go to the Ravens to get it. DeAndre Hopkins had to go to the Cardinals to get it. Khalil Mack had to go to the Bears to get it. Joe Thuney, he had to go to get it. Forrest Buckner had to go to get it. If you want to be the highest paid at your position, you're going to have to go.
But
it ain't going to happen in Baltimore.
There weren't a lot of quarterbacks on that list.
No, but the highest paid ever in Deshaun had to go to get it.
Correct, but what we're not talking about as when it comes to these organizations as simple as we are going to get a quarterback or bust. Everyone doesn't operate that way. The Ravens are not operating that way. So again, timing matters. As you mentioned, it probably would have made more sense for Lamar to sit out last year. He didn't. Timing matters. Who needs a quarterback matters. Who owns these teams that need quarterbacks matter. It's in order for something to become the norm, it has to happen, It has to be successful, which we haven't seen yet in Cleveland. And it has to be something that can be duplicated in every single place. It's not as straightforward as I can just write this check, or I even want to write this check. Because what if I write this check, I find the money, like you said, they always can, but then you have nothing to work with. So you have this insanely expensive quarterback, and it's still all on Lamar Jackson to do, or any of these other quarterbacks.
That's and you're right, but like that's the market. So I hear what you're saying, but who to say that Joe Burrow is going to be okay with not getting a cheaper deal than Deshaun Watson? Who to say that Justin Herbert, who the Chargers, that's all they have to brag about. I'm not okay with having a deal less than Deshaun Watson. That's going to be the problem. It's just that Lamar Jackson is the first one to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think, Shady, I think the nuance for hopefully Burrow, Hurts, even Lamar will be this. Get your contract fully guaranteed. Just make it shorter. Get more money per year than – because we keep talking about it like Deshaun's the first one to do it. He's not. Kirk Cousins did it in 2018.
He did.
But the 200 –
Correct. But remember, when Kirk did it in 2018, that was a good number.
Oh, yeah. It was
Kirk did 3 years for 84 back in 2018.
That's right.
Fully guaranteed. So my thought process is, Burrow, do 4 years, 205. He'll make more per year than Deshaun. He'll come up the same year as Deshaun. Like, you don't have to.
You cut it up.
That's sort of the NBA's superstar model.
Correct.
It is, but these are two different sports. Again, I make all the money you want. Ask for all the money you want. I certainly do. I don't want to take less money. I'm not encouraging any of that. All I'm saying is what the nuance of the way that the sport is structured is. That's why it's hard for me to imagine it. I hope it happens. I wish that all NFL players got fully guaranteed contracts. They play a collision sport. They really should. They're in the most violent sport. They should have guaranteed deals. But that's not the way that it's structured. It's not the way the CBA is structured. So how this all works will depend on a lot of factors. And I do think that there probably are some teams out there that are willing
There's got to be one. There has to be at least one.
There were ones bidding on Deshaun, so.
Right.
All it takes is one, Lamar.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.